Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, since 1980, the United Nations World Tourism Organization has celebrated World Tourism Day as international observances on September the 27th. Now, this date was chosen as on that day in 1970, the statutes of the United Nations World Tourism Organization were adopted. Now, the adoption of these statutes is considered a milestone in global tourism. So today on the show, we will focus on how Nigeria is faring in this sector with this year's theme, Rethinking Tourism. But let's first see the trends before we get into the conversation.
Nigerians rejoiced and praised the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) as they made the biggest bust in the history of the agency in what has been recorded as the biggest cocaine seizure in the country, worth over $227 million. The seizure was made in a secure warehouse in the Ikorodu area of Lagos State, where at least 4 persons, including a Jamaican, were arrested as part of a cartel that has been trailed since 2018. Also trending is another bust, but this time by the Nigerian police, as a kidnap kingpin. John Leon's arrest was celebrated by Nigerians. The suspect is said to have been a resident of Bayelsa State while spending his youth in Abuja, where he maintains a lavish lifestyle. On numerous Facebook posts, Leon, identified as a member of the All Progressives Congress, could be seen showing off luxurious items, display of religiosity, and posting motivational quotes about success.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. But joining us to look at today's discussion, which is the World Tourism Day, which happens to be tomorrow, Tuesday. We have with us right here in the Lagos studio, Emeka Eze. He is a politician, a businessman, and a tourism expert. He joins us, like I said earlier on, in the studio right here in Lagos. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
We also have joining us via Zoom, Adedamola Idowu, a seasoned travel and tourism professional with experience assisting tourists fulfill their domestic and international travel needs. He joins us via Zoom from Estonia. Adedamola, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, you're welcome. So, kickstart the conversation for us, Emeka. This year's theme says rethinking tourism. How can Nigeria rethink its tourism sector, or what is Nigeria doing that needs to have that rethink, within the sector?
Well, I want to say whoever is responsible for that team did a good job, because that's what we should be doing now, rethinking. This is a sector of the country's economy that ordinarily should be controlling a whole lot to the economy, should even drive other economies, because you cannot be talking about investments in business and manufacturing and others when people haven't had a taste of that environment. And having a taste of the environment is coming around as tourists and experiencing that part of the country. In total, this is a sector of the economy that used to contribute between 4 and 5% to the economy. As at 2019, it contributed about 4% to the country's GDP, but that dropped to about 2% in 2020. I don't know what the figures are at the moment, but that is scary. This is a sector of the economy that contributed over $5 billion $5 million to the GDP. Directly, and if you put everything together, directly or indirectly, we'll be talking of way more than $17 billion. So I think that we really need to come to the table and begin to talk about it. Who are the stakeholders? What is government doing right? Because this is not time for blame trading.
Yeah.
What is government doing right, and what is the private sector not doing right?
Yeah.
At what point does public-private partnership need to come in?
Yeah.
What government policies will be favorable? And the big biter of all, the insecurity. How do we curtail? Because we can't fold our hands and say the country is insecure, therefore there will be no tourists. There's some countries facing equal such challenges. People are still struggling to visit. Some parts of Southeast Asia will still visit there, despite the fact that they have, forgive me to say, juntas, currently in charge of those governments. So like you said, rethink. We really need to begin to look at it holistically and begin to see ways of engaging. I want to give it up for a particular family. There's a couple if you know them, who are responsible for one program that has always been promoting local tourism. I'm talking about Goje Africa. We need a lot of that. Place branding. We need to start talking about it. So it's easy for some of us to come up in conversations and talk our country down when we have conversations. If you keep doing that, nobody wants to pay visits here. It's
Exactly.
affecting virtually every section of the country, even medical tourism.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like you just give us like a mix. This picture you just painted is kind of mixed. To one end, there's been some good, but like you said, the big bite of
Yes.
insecurity. But let me get to hear from Adedamola as well. Adedamola, what's your take on what is going on with the tourism sector? Of course, both of you, just like Emeka here, you have deep experience traveling around and helping people to meet their travel needs. But what do you think we should be doing differently currently?
Thank you so much, Victor. I quite agree with Emeka. I mean, unfortunately, I think what we have to be doing, I mean, in Nigeria is thinking tourism because, to be very honest with you, while the rest of the world is rethinking because of the pandemic, there was a break in, the tourism industry, the tourism sector. I can't remember at what point we were actually thinking tourism. So while others are trying to rethink, I think what we should be doing at this point in time is actually thinking tourism because if you look at our history the earliest history from 1960, it's always been, oil. And, there's never been that focus on tourism as a major source of foreign exchange. Look at those figures Emeka quoted. Imagine those were the figures that were coming into our own economy. I mean, they would have been extremely great, when we can actually bank on tourism to be a source of foreign exchange. People come from different parts of the world with their foreign currencies, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So at this point, I think what we should be focusing on is actually thinking tourism. How do we focus to tourism? Because if we continue to list all of the benefits, from now till tomorrow, we may not be able to live here because tourism has got a lot of potential, most especially in Nigeria. You can't point to any part of Nigeria that you will not have something fantastic, something that other parts of the world do not even have. And the little they have in other parts of the world, they've been able to monetize it. People go there, spend a lot of money. I mean, even Nigerians travel everywhere. There's almost nowhere we haven't helped Nigerians to, just go for vacation, for honeymoon, family getaway, and all of those things. So Nigeria's got a lot of potential. It's that time that we now have to start thinking tourism. Fortunately for us, it's never too late. But we've been saying this for quite some time, but it's just a bit unfortunate that we are not there yet. But the time is right. I mean, this is just about that time that we have to start thinking tourism, even though we haven't been doing it for some time now. The time is never too late. We can start thinking tourism.
Well, indeed, I kind of quite agree with you that it's never too late and we can start now. Like they say, the journey of a million miles begins with a step. So if we start now, who knows what would be in 10 years. But I was also going to bring this up, summer just ended, so to speak, or for some, absolutely it's ended. But, and I kept seeing on Instagram, on Twitter, and everywhere, social media, all the tours that I kept seeing that people like you and the Mecca in Nigeria were selling, where some are in Dubai, some are in Rwanda, some are everywhere else. I was really hoping to see something local. What is the? I know Emeka had made mention of it earlier. He said insecurity seems to be the big biter. But what is one of the major reasons why? In fact, I even saw summer in Capa del Pasa. All
Casa
these
del
places.
Papa.
Exactly, so it's a tongue twister. Sorry about that. Why do we even go to as close as Benin Republic? Rather than have go to all those places that you talked about, here in Nigeria.
So for me, I think it's about value. If I pay an amount of money, XYZ amount of money for a service, if I do not get or derive the kind of value that I want, I'm definitely not going to come back and I'm going to take my money elsewhere. So that's the problem we have with Nigerian tourism. We have everything at its very, very raw state. Everything is extremely raw. But then look at, I'll say somewhere like Erin waterfalls, for example. Imagine that waterfall was in another country. There are a lot of things that you can actually derive from that place. Apart from the waterfall itself, you see people come together to say they want to build a water park. I mean, an indoor water park. You see people, you see resorts springing up around there. So, value is something that is missing from the Nigerian tourism context. The question I ask myself is most of our destinations, Erin for example, after I go climb the seven step waterfall and come back, what next?
Well, I guess that is a question that I'll be pushing to Emeka to answer. Emeka, what next? I mean, after all of that.
I like the way he has, he's looking at it.
Yeah.
And if everyone is looking at it the way he's looking at it, solutions, solutions, solutions. Trust me, the approach has to be organized and has to be strategic. He talked about somewhere in Osun State.
Yeah.
There's this place in Taraba State where you see wonderful water, birds. You see this beautiful desert in Yobe State. You see Imo State where it has its own, hospitality arrangement. You go to even I remember the last time someone sent an email to me and asking me, what about the Agungu Festival in Adamawa State
In
the
Kebbi State.
in Kebbi State, sorry, and you see people crying out for these things. Now he mentioned Rwanda. Probably you talked about it.
Yeah.
You would not believe the amount of people who visit Rwanda every day. That's why I said it has to be strategic. It has to be organized. You have to look at it holistically.
So what are they doing differently than
Now,
we're not doing?
what we need to do from after the time they had their trial periods during the war,
Yeah.
and the economy has been built, the country has asked the world to visit them. It's place branding. It costs money. Government has to get involved, not just the private sector. The government will, through the relevant offices, tell the world that yes, it's no longer what it used to be. You like football, and you would agree with me that
On
just that
Arsenal.
line, visit Rwanda, has is enough to trigger curiosity. Let me go see what this Rwanda looks like. And the fact that there are positive stories everywhere about the same country makes it easier for one to take that big decision to say, let me go check it out. But when you have negative news, negative stories about Nigeria here and there, you have this happening, you have that happening, it's not like I'm not making a case for Nigeria. I'm not making a case for Nigeria or the ills in the society, but I'm saying that there's the ways of managing information and presenting the good sides of Nigeria through everything that portrays our image, from our local movies to the contents that we push out, to the even the advertisements, the adverts that we put out on international stations like on cable. You see other countries trying to project themselves positively. That's the first step in leading anyone to wanting to visit your country. Then internally, there should be some organized measure, that it's not just about federal government, it's not just about state government, it's not just about the private sector or the stakeholders. It's a collective thing. Everyone sits down, we talk about it. The Ministry of Tourism in this state sends a representative, this person sends a representative, and we organize these things. When we organize it, even the players, those who are in the business of selling the commercial part of it will be in the picture as well. Because in the first stage of getting this done, we need to make it as affordable as possible so that people come in.
Yeah,
But the big question, who guarantees the security of those who move around in the name of tourism?
Well, we'll answer that in just a moment, but for now, let's take a quick break, and of course, I'll come back to you to answer that question. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists right here in the studio, as well as via Zoom from Estonia. That's Didamola Amido. But here with us is Emeka Eze. Emeka, you were talking about, who guarantees the safety of people while they are making or trying to have their vacation or just visit some of these awesome places that you made mention, as well as Didamola, in Nigeria. So whose responsibility it is? I mean, I would say it's the responsibility of the state. But I've seen in some instances where the tour guides, take it upon themselves to hire personnel or to hire states, state hired or state employed, officers, their security, to to ride with them. But again, so like you said, it's a two-way thing. But who do you think, just like your answer,
Well, I
should be
want to agree
responsible?
with you. There's a responsibility of government. How much security can you offer as a private individual? Best case, you have 2, 3 security men armed going. That can't match the bandits or an organized group of kidnappers or something. Especially when they know the caliber of people moving as tourists. That's why I said it has to be holistic. And those areas where we consider as as tourist attractions should be treated in quotes as sacred places. What do I mean? Put those places, keep them in check. There should be security measures, CCTV cameras, on ground security operatives and everything, and let people know that if I am going here, I feel safe. I'm sure you won't feel scared when you walk into Aso Rock. And you're not scared of anyone killing you in Aso Rock because there's an existing security apparatus. That's the approach that we should have for some of the places where people visit. Now, Olumo Rock, for instance, in Ogun State, is what it is. But in recent times, you would agree with me, how many people want to pay visits to those areas, even though the security issue is not that bad in Ogun State. But it's a thing of the mind. Someone needs to start speaking to people that things are no longer what they are. We need to start becoming positive. The approach has to be, very organized. So some people call it place branding, but we need to sell Nigeria positively. That's the first step in fixing the tourism problems.
Indeed. Well, Damola, let me also get your thoughts on the security issue. It's everywhere. I mean, we hear if you're trying to take a quick trip, they say, there's that question: how safe is it? So that's one of the worrying things that people have to face, before they even make some of those trips. But Emeka is saying,
So,
we can one or two things. But what do you think can be done?
honestly, you cannot overemphasize security because I'm always too quick to, reference places where they actually got it right. I cannot be going to Dubai and be thinking of probably getting police escorts. Man, that's luxury. But then I remember I did a trip to um, some part of Ekiti State. That was October last year, and I had to go with. Yeah, I had a couple of friends who were coming into the country, so security became, I mean, top priority for me. I had to get policemen, even though, we took the train from Lagos to Ibadan. Ibadan, we took the bus, the policemen had to join us, to and fro. So it's not about even, saying positive about Nigeria. When you say positive things and people really want to come, and people come here and, we have to charge them for police escorts because we do not have security. That defeats the aim of coming here because if we want to sell a destination, if we want to sell Nigeria as a destination, some of the things we need to use, as our value proposition is, oh, okay, it's not so expensive. Traveling to Nigeria, all of these things. But if we have to put in the cost of getting police personnel, it shoots the price up a whole lot. So the issue of security is one conversation that we must continue to have because if you do not have a safe environment,
Yeah.
people will not come. If you're supposed to have 10 people, probably at the end of the day have 2, 3 people, and yeah, people are saying good things and they share your pictures and stuff. Yeah, Instagram worthy pictures, but
And
then
that's where
the
it's going to
reality on
end.
the ground, yeah, the reality on the ground is that if these people come, their safety is not assured. So we must continue to, kick government, not government, appeal to them, speak to them,
Yeah.
pressure them that this security challenge is, I don't know. We don't go to other countries with police escorts, but here it's a necessity. If you want to move around, you need to know it doesn't even make it doesn't make tourism sweet. You're turning around, you're seeing AK-47, you're turning here, you're seeing AK-47. What's the essence? So government must continue to work towards ensuring the safety of lives and property,
Yeah.
most especially around our tourism destinations.
All right, thank you for joining us on the show today. Hopefully that would be done in the very nearest future. But before that is done, of course, we'll keep hopes alive and have people just visit some of these places, and hopefully they would and have a good experience. But again, happy World Tourism Day, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Indeed. Emeka, happy World Tourism Day as well.
Well, thank you very
and
much.
Of course,
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed.
And,
okay.
let's keep this. I want to say a big thank you to stations like yours who you appreciate that this is important. You want the conversations to go out there, but let's continue to hammer on it. It's important. We can't overemphasize the importance
Indeed.
of tourism, especially for economy and for the overall image of the country.
Well,
thank you very much for having me.
I can't but agree with you on that. Thank you again for joining us on the show, Emeka Eze. Well, that's where we are. We'll leave you with the movie videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.
But one thing I've always told people.
Kicking off this week's top 5 videos, in 5th place is Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike maintaining that he will not leave the opposition PDP ahead of the 2023 general elections.
Doing anything to think that will leave PDP, sacrifices must be made.
A video of his occupies the 4th spot. This time, it's a video where he takes a swipe at the party chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, and presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar.
In order for us to win, we said that, and he agreed with us that Ayu has to. As I've always mentioned,
3rd spot is maintained by vow made by the Chief of Defense Staff that the armed forces will resist any attempt to use violence against the Nigerian state.
Now, you and I, of course, those of us that are serving, and you, remain sold out completely. Unity, faith, peace, and progress of our nation.
2nd spot sees the NDLEA announce what has been recorded as the biggest cocaine seizure in the history of Nigeria, worth over $278 million.
don't fire from there, don't fire from there.
While a blast from the past takes top spot as a video of police officers led by the Anambra State Command CP engaging in a gun battle with gunmen in a market in the state.